how do we pay for something as important, as vital as Medicare for All without bankrupting the country, without causing inflation or hyperinflation, without all the negative stuff that you typically hear from opponents to universal healthcare and Medicare for All and things of that nature. So here we're talking about a federal program, a national program funded by the federal government, not states, not municipalities. The traditional thinking about how we pay for things, when I say traditional, the mainstream politics, mainstream economics way of thinking about this is the following. They say, well, just like we pay taxes at the local level, we pay taxes at the federal level, and those taxes are used to fund government programs. So it's natural from this mainstream perspective to think that a universal healthcare program will be funded by tax revenues at the federal level. And some would argue, well, even if we wanted to spend beyond tax revenues, the federal government will have to borrow even more, issue US Treasury bonds to borrow money to pay for it. And once you borrow and have a larger and larger national debt, we're told that at some point that debt needs to be paid. And the way governments pay for their debts is by raising taxes at some point in the future. So it's either more taxes now or more taxes later, or both, more taxes now and more taxes later. And therefore, they argue that this is going to be too expensive. Again, from a mainstream perspective, the opponent's perspective, they argue that a larger deficit, a larger national debt will raise interest rates on everybody in the economy and will cause inflation or even hyperinflation. So that's the mainstream narrative. That's usually the pushback against universal healthcare. In addition to, of course, some ideological pushback, the idea that the government shouldn't choose your doctor and all that stuff that we're familiar with. But I'll focus on the economics. How do we pay for it? And this is really where the MMT perspective, or the modern monetary theory perspective on how government finances operate, can completely liberate us from that constraint that the mainstream of politics and economics typically puts to object to Medicare for All.